I am calling this the design process. These are the steps that we are going to go through with just about all of the projects. So I want you to know how they work. So the first, this is the overall process. First thing you're going to do is research, and then thumbnail sketches, roughs, and then comps are what you will eventually be turning in. And I'm going to go over each of these steps in detail here. So for research, you are going to research your topic, even if you think you know a lot about whatever your topic is. You don't know enough and you need to research more. So, for example, I grew up in Miami. I know a lot of stuff about Miami, but if I was doing some kind of a design or an illustration about Miami, I would not want to just assume that I know everything that I need to know. You can't have too much research unless you never move out of the research step into the rest of them. You can't have too much research. It gives you a lot more information to go into your design. So, for example, I don't know all of the animals that are native to Miami. I don't know if we have a city bird. Things like that. Okay, I can't draw the skyline from memory. So all of those things I would want to do more research on. So some of the things that might help, obviously websites, going and reading and looking at a lot of images on your topic. Word association lists. So going back to the Miami example, I would start with Miami and I would write down literally every word I could think of that comes to mind. Beaches, sand, city, cultural, that's, just on and on and on. Lots and lots of words. And then you can do visual reference research from photos on some of those words. So I would type in beach and I would look at a lot of pictures of beach, and I would look up city and I would look up a lot of pictures about cities. Color research. Some of the projects you will be using very specific colors. There's one of the projects where you will be pulling a color scheme out of an image that relates to your topic. So we're going to talk more about color research, but you want to make sure that you understand the connotations and the associations with all of the colors that you're using in your designs. And then brainstorming, sitting and writing down in words just about everything that you can think of on your topic. There are some things that are very specific to thumbnails that I want to make sure that you are doing. So thumbnails are done by hand. They are not done on the computer. There's reasons for this. Once you get onto the computer, you're going to get bogged down with things like, how to change the colors in this gradient and how do you move this anchor point. And when you start thinking about all those technical things, your creativity can kind of take a back seat. And we don't want that happening when you are coming up with your initial ideas. So your thumbnails should be done by hand and not on the computer. Do not edit. If you think of it, sketch it out. So I don't want you, when you're working on your thumbnails, to think, well, I don't know how to build this in the program, or this isn't a really good idea. All of those things. If you think of it, put it down on paper and get it out and keep moving on. If you don't have any bad ideas in your thumbnails, then you're probably not doing it right. Seriously, if you think of it, put it down on the paper. Even if it's a cliche solution, you still need to put it down and you need to move on to the other ideas. So push past the cliche solutions by sketching them and then move on from them. Because there might be something in that sketch that you like the way that you drew this octopus or something, and you want to use it in another one of your thumbnails. So don't edit yourself in this point, okay? Just put it down on paper and keep moving on. Explore different ideas, not just different designs of the same idea. So you may have an idea of like this here, where it's got a picture of a crab and the thing that says shack underneath it. If you also do one where it's got the crab turned upside down and it says shack underneath it. If you've got another one where it has this same crab and it says shack next to it, those are not 3 different ideas. Those are 3 variations on the same idea. So be sure that you're not just taking the same exact thing and rearranging the parts. Be sure that you're actually coming up with different ideas. Design the words to fit with the visuals, not simply as an afterthought. If you're doing a logo, okay, which the first project is going to be sort of like a logo. So a lot of times students will get real busy with creating the visuals, and then they'll just kind of tack on the words afterwards. And you don't want to do that. You want the words to really be working well with the visuals. Sorry about that. Here we go. Include the words with each thumbnail. I need to be able to see where the words are placed. Now, before we go on, I want to talk to you about a few things about thumbnails. If you are somebody who is really good at illustration and rendering things, you may be tempted to get into these thumbnails and get real detailed with them and get shading and lighting and cross-hatching and all kinds of stuff, and create these little works of art. So in the amount of time that you're working on one thumbnail and it looks really great and it's just like a wonderful little drawing, the person sitting next to you has gotten 4 thumbnails made out with less detail. They are doing it right and you're doing it wrong, okay? These are not little works of art. All you need is enough so that you can see what the idea is. You can see where the words are placed. You may have a little bit of shading if you need to know where dark areas and light areas on, and then you move on to the next one. So please do not spend a lot of time making these little precious works of art, because that's not what these are intended to be. These are intended to get out. In the amount of time that you're making a little work of art, there are other ideas that are bouncing around in your head that are not getting down on the paper. So here's some examples. The problem with this is that it's on lined paper. And again, I do not want you designing things on lined paper. But it gives you a good example of a lot of different ideas, not just variations on the same idea. It shows you how the words are incorporated into each of the logos. So here's some more examples, just lots and lots and lots of ideas. So you got a lot to choose from. So these are examples of some thumbnails that are very messy, but I can tell exactly what's going on, okay? I've even got these labeled. This is going to be the Earth. This is going to be an eagle. This is going to be the moon. I can tell that there's some kind of a text up here, okay? This I can tell is a planet, probably Earth. I can see that there's a flag back here. This looks like this might be some kind of a spacecraft zoom in, and I can see with the X's that these are words. Okay, so for all of these are not little works of art. They've got just enough on there that I can tell what's going on. So that's the way that you want to be doing these. For logos, roughs for logos, and again, the first project that we're doing is very similar to a logo. Here's some things that you need to think about. What's going to happen is once I look at your thumbnails, we are going to choose which one we think is going to be the most successful. And once we decide that, that's when you're going to take it onto the computer and you're going to start building it. And that's where the rough stage comes in. So with the rough stage, you're going to build it in a vector program. So that has to be, in this class, it is Adobe Illustrator. Do not take it into Photoshop or any other raster program, because once you take it in there, it is going to rasterize it, which is going to completely negate the use of building it in a vector program. So you may be working and thinking, oh, I know how to do this one little effect over in Photoshop, so I'm just going to take this logo over to Photoshop just for a second, and then I'll bring it back into Illustrator. Don't do that, because it's going to rasterize it. You bring it back into Illustrator, and it's not going to be what it needs to be. So please build it only in a vector program. If you're not sure how to create some kind of a specific effect, ask me about it. I probably know how to do it, and if I don't know how to do it, I'll figure out how to do it. I'll do some research, and we'll figure out how to do it. Explore different color schemes. The great thing about working on the computer is once you've got all these pieces built, it's real easy to copy and paste this a bunch of times and try different colors. It's better to try out the different colors so that you can see them next to each other. So rather than taking this logo that's built, taking this and changing it right here to yellow and looking at that, and changing it to green and looking at it like that, you can't compare them side by side. So copy it and paste it over here, and then try your different colors, because now you can look at them all next to each other, and you can decide which one you want to go with. Explore different fonts at this point. Not any of the forbidden fonts, all right? But explore different fonts. Now, they haven't done it this example, but again, it's real easy. Once you've got it on here, you just you copy this, you put it over here, you highlight this, and you change it to a different font. And you can look at them side by side and decide which ones are going to be best for you. So during the rough stage, I will be looking at your progress. And I will talk to you about things that need to be changed along the way. Once you've got it so that it's perfect and everybody loves it, you will end up with your comps, which are your refined and finished illustrations or designs or whatever. And your comps are what you will be submitting in class. So for your logo checklists, these are the things to think about. For your typeface, it needs to be appropriate and effective. Legibility is essential. Function over style. So you may find a font that is absolutely wonderful, and it's got all of these little tiny details that are really interesting to look at. But if your audience can't read the words, then it's not useful to you. Okay, you've absolutely got to make sure that the words can be read very easily. So keep that in mind when you're choosing your fonts. You want to choose a font that's appropriate for your subject. Okay, so if you've got a very serious subject, you want to use a serious font. Don't use a font that's difficult to read. I think I said that before. A stunning font is useless if your audience can't read it. Your color scheme. Colors have meanings. Be sure you're aware of the mood you are setting with your chosen colors. Here's a thing to keep in mind. Every time you stretch a font somewhere, a designer cries. Stretched fonts are very, very distracting to look at. If you want your font to be smaller, then change the font size, the point size. That's a better way to do it. If you want to stretch it some way, then there needs to be a really good reason that you're stretching it, not just because you need it to fit into a certain place or you need it to be shorter. Okay, there's lots of fonts to choose from, so please don't stretch them. And as always, do not use clip art and do not use any forbidden fonts.